Chapter 1. The Music Theory. Why do we need to study music theory? Music theory is an attempt to explain music and give a visual and verbal representation. It can be very difficult to document and recreate music and communicate with other musicians without it. It is also a way to better understand the patterns and structures found in different genres, which can greatly help in the creation of new compositions. If you know music theory and its components, especially the scales and modes, you don't have to learn and rediscover notes and musical patterns through trial and error. With enough practice, you'll be able to learn and play any piece and song much faster. You'll also be able to recognize patterns on your sheet music instead of playing it note per note, symbol by symbol. So set aside those tabs and be ready to be called a full-fledged musician and bassist. Basic elements of music. Let's start with the components of music or music theory. As a musician, you really need to know these before we go to the next lesson. Understanding these will also help you communicate better with other musicians. Rhythm. This is the patterned movement of a beat. It is also sets the pace to where chords, notes and other sounds begin and end. It's all about the music's duration. Elements of rhythm. Beat. Tapping and clapping along with a song is considered a beat. A beat is a rhythmic pattern or pulse used in music. Oftentimes it is recognizable and repetitive and is reinforced by percussion instruments. Meter. This refers to the beat count of the music. Time signatures will help you identify how many beats per measure and will also help you divide the beat counts. X. 4 quarters means 4 counts in a measure 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4, and so on. Tempo. This is measured as beats per minute, BPM. The tempo refers to the speed of the beat. In general it can be fast or slow, allegro or largo. Harmony. This is a group of notes played together to support the melody. Harmony also gives texture and mood to the music that you are playing. It is the arrangement of notes and instruments played together to form chords and layers of pleasing sounds. Melody. This is also a group of notes that gives voice and tune. Melody or a melodic line is a stream of notes, often played individually or in such a way that it forms a distinctive pattern and sound. This is also the part of music that you can remember and hum to. What a bassist should focus on. Groove. Bassists are often ignored and underestimated, but they have a really big role to play, especially in a band. They also have a lot of freedom. They can be subdued at times and jump out and break out at another. A bassist has a lot of responsibility that uneducated listeners don't notice too often. Maintaining the beat of a song and reinforcing the correct timing or tempo is one of the important roles as a bassist. One can even say that the bass is the bridge linking percussion instruments such as the drums to lead or melody carrying instruments such as the guitar. That is why practicing using a drum machine or metronome is very important, essential even. This will help you practice how to keep steady beats and tempos. Knowing how the song goes and always keeping the groove. If you know arpeggios, scales, and modes, then it will be easier for you to create groovy and catchy bass lines, which is a great addition to any song that you are playing. This will also require you to practice a lot using a drum machine or metronome. Providing the rhythmic and harmonic foundation of the song is the quintessential role of the bassist, especially in a band. We need to provide a stable platform where melodic lines can freely move and mix. Stepping out, soloing, playing melody, emphasizing on attack. While bassists typically provide rhythmic and harmonic foundations of the song, they can also step out and play solos just like most guitarists do. A good example of a player who does this is Victor Wooten. He can even play the bass as a solo instrument without a band, because he can make the bass sing and produce a variety of tonal qualities using different techniques such as harmonics, tapping, popping and slapping. You can also learn to do this if you practice and focus on mastering the techniques. Intervals. An interval is the distance between two notes. In Western music, the smallest distance is between two notes as seen on the piano, although this can be smaller in Eastern or Indian music. Whole step and half step. These are the terms used to describe the distance of the notes in an octave or scale. Whole step, W, one note apart or one space apart. Another name for a whole step is tone or T. Half step, H, no space between two notes. It is usually sharps and flats. Another name for half step is semitone or S. Major interval, W, W, H, W, 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 H or T, T, S, T, 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 S. Minor interval, W, H, W, W, H, W, W or T, S, T, T, S, T, T. Musical intervals. These are the important terms that you need to remember. These terms will help you easily locate the notes that you will play. Intervals. Location on the same string. Root, R. The root note is the foundation of a scale, its octave and its resulting chord. It is always starts with a root note and also ends with a root note. Minor second, M2, or flat second, B2, half step or semitone away from R root. Major second, M2, or two-whole step interval from the root. Minor third, M3, or flat third, B3, two half steps away from the root. A half step away from M2. Major third, M3, or 3 to 3 half step away from the root. Half step away from M3. You can play this note on the same string. You can also play it on the next string, or the adjacent string. Perfect 4, P4, or 4 to 4 half step away from the root. Half step from M3. Augmented fourth, A4 or number 4, or diminished fifth, D5 or B5, 5 half steps away from the root. A half step from P4. A4 simply means number 4, sharp 4, because it is next to P4, while D5 means B5, flat fifth, because the next note will be P5. Perfect 5, P5, or 5 to 6 half steps away from the root. A half step from A4 or D5. Augmented fifth, A5 or number 5, or diminished sixth, D6 or B6, 7 half steps away from the root. A half step from P5. Major sixth, M6, 8 half steps away from the root. A half step away from M6. Minor seventh, M7, 9 half steps away from the root. Half step away from M6. Major seventh, M7, 10 half steps away from the root. A half step away from M7. Perfect octave, P8 or 8, or root, R, root to root. The last note, octave. Quick tips. Musical intervals are often written as numbers. 1, 2B, 2, 3B, 3, 4, number 4, B5, 5, number 5, B6, 7B, 7, 8, P8 over 1, so do not be confused. Use these symbols terms, as these are a lot easier to remember. Scale degrees. Scale degree is the name of a specific note in a scale. Another term for scale degree is scale step. 1. The first and last note of a scale or the root is called the tonic. 2. The second note is called the supertonic. 3. The third note is called the mediant, the Latin word for middle, because it is in the middle of tonic, first note of the root, and dominant, which is the fifth note. 4. The fourth note is called the subdominant, which simply means lower dominant. 5. As mentioned above, the fifth note is called the dominant. 6. The sixth note is called the submediant. 7. Lastly, the seventh note is called the leading note. This is the note before the upper tonic. Scales. Scales are one of the main ingredients in making music. You can easily determine the notes of all melodic lines without much guesswork using scales. This is one of the essential topics that you need to learn to better understand how melodies are constructed. Scales are group of notes and intervals from the musical alphabet that have 12 notes, letters C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B. The notes of a scale found all over the fretboard can be divided into 7 modes, Greek scales. Each mode has a different tune and personality. As previously mentioned, scales define the relationship of one note to another. If you become familiar with using scales, you will automatically know how modes will be arranged on the whole fretboard. If you know where the modes are located on the fretboard, this will help you determine what notes on the fretboard you can use when playing through a song in a particular key. Types of scales. Major, this is the most familiar scale. You may often hear people hum or sing do, re, mi, fa, so, la, ti, do. That's the major scale. The major scale consists of 7 notes and the scale degrees are R root M2. Major second M3, major third P4, perfect fourth P5, perfect fifth M6, major sixth M7, major seventh R. Don't count the octave. Major scale. Minor, another common type of scale. The minor scale conveys sad or moody feelings. It is typically used for modern blues songs. A minor scale consists of root, M2 major second, M3 minor third, P4 perfect fourth, P5 perfect fifth, M6 minor sixth, M7 minor seven,